Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Mavs friends, welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, joined just love that sweet saxophone. Hello, guys. Welcome back to Pod Maverick. This is our second post-game recap show. This is Mavs Party, where you can and should come talk basketball with me. Get your takes off. Let me know what you think about this particular game or the season at large. Don't really have a firm set agenda for this one. It's funny. We have more people in here than we've been having for recent shows, and there's a StreamYard link in the chat. I'll share it again. You just click and join this. You can join from your phone. You can join from your computer, however you want to do it. You guys normally see Brian in here. He's usually the first one up, but I guess he's probably taking a break for the evening. Don't really blame me. Everybody's got to go back to work tomorrow. But this could be, fun way to let me know what you think about the season at large. If you're new to the show, if you haven't really participated before, I tend to give preference to people who I haven't seen before because, part of the reasons why I started doing anything related to Mavs stuff is because I was living by myself, away from all Mavs fans, didn't really have good outlets for fan base stuff. And there wasn't really any way for me to participate in the community. So I wanted to have that sort of outlet as far as fan base stuff. So, here we are. It's, let's see here. It's about 11:30. Josh and I just finished up that show. Trying to think if there's anything else that I really want to go off on about, but I don't really know at the moment because, when you win a game like that, there's you just kind of want to be happy and walk away with the win. The Mavericks needed a clutch performance. They actually got one, and they're going to mark their, sort of consider this just a notch in the belt as the Mavericks march their way up the standings a little bit. This is pretty important to notch these games, at least early in the season, because as things go on, you don't want to look back and see points in the schedule where you think, all right, the Mavericks should have done better here. How could they have lost this game? Oh, we don't want that to be the deciding point between home court and that sort of thing in the conference finals. But that's just the way these games go. All right, I got my man Leo who has a question here or a comment or wants to talk about something. Leo, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Hello, everything okay?
Yeah, it's
can
good.
You hear me well?
Yeah, you sound great.
Well, my question kind of pertains not to this game, but more overall how the season is going to go forward. If Klay Thompson does have like a serious nagging injury, if not serious, just like a nagging injury, who would you like to see replace him in the starting lineup that would work well with the current bench and depth we have? Not to speak to any trades, because Mavs Twitter right now is on civil war between whether or not they want Dorian Finney-Smith back.
Yeah, I know. So you're on the pro. You would like to bring him back.
Yes and no.
I think it's got to be situation dependent. I mean, if you have Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes, I think it depends what the other teams are bringing to the table in terms of size and who you want to match up with whom defensively. Ultimately, the starting point shouldn't matter. I get that it's an ego-based thing. You know, Tim Hardaway talked about this once when he was on JJ Redick's podcast way back when, and he talked about getting used to both roles. And it was one of the things that I admired most about Tim because he didn't let that affect how he played. And I think that could probably be said for both Grimes and Najee, that I think either one would fit and either one would work. Your rotation and sort of span of minutes is kind of the key points there. So I think it's a good question. I would suspect Najee gets more than Grimes just because Grimes can be a little bit more of a heater off the bench. And Najee's a more of a connecting piece who certainly can score, but I think he's best at moving the ball and playing with those superstars. But, you know, we'll see.
And then, like, the second part of the question is, seeing how much we struggled without PJ's specific skill set of guarding larger wings, having the ability to post up, and just rebound in general, is there a specific player you'd like to see the Mavs target?
I'm so bad at trades. I don't like any of the ones that I've seen because I think that you're trading one set of problems for another. I mean, it's even why with the Maxey of it all, where I think if you're worried about moving Maxey, you're trying to get out from under his money, and that has more to do with salary cap than it does improving the team. I think Maxey's actually fine in this role if he's playing 15 minutes a night as opposed to 30. So that's just where I sit.
Okay, because this game it wasn't a great Maxey game, and it was just
there hasn't been a good Maxey game. The thing that you want to do with the Maxey minutes is you want to not notice them. And that's really when he plays more than 15 minutes, you start to notice Maxey. So
gotcha. Well, hopefully we don't run into problems later on in the season because we really can't shake this injury bug with all.
No, but nobody can. Look at the top of the West. I mean, it's pretty brutal out there. I mean, Memphis is finally shaken free of stuff. Houston's been pretty injury free. The Thunder are still first in the West despite having been snake bit. The Warriors are tumbling a bit due to their injuries. The Lakers haven't faced much yet, but they're going to because their team is old. The Clippers will have the same set of problems. I mean, this is just the modern NBA. Like guys, they run more, they cover more distance. The game is physical despite what we like to complain about. And these guys' bodies just aren't really attuned to the kind of motion. I just don't think we're really designed for it. I mean, if you go watch an 80s game on Twitter, on YouTube, they're just kind of hopping up and down the floor. The game's fast, but it's a different, you don't open shots are allowed. You're not seeing a lot of guys like charging down a 17-footer trying to play hyper aggressive defense. So,
all right. Have a good night, Mr. Kirk. Thank you,
buddy. Talk soon. All right. Coming up next is Matt. Matt, welcome to the show.
What's up, Kirk? How you doing?
I'm okay. What are you thinking tonight?
Oh, well, first, it was good to see Luka back, and he actually looked healthy for the first time all year, so that was good. He looked really good. I'm excited. Yeah. So,
I was pleased with that too.
Well, just two quick things. First, I can't believe it. I was listening to your podcast last Sunday when we were going to send Spencer to the moon, but How good is he? How good was he tonight, man? We needed him in that fourth. I'm super impressed with him, and like you said, our depth is crazy because now that I'm not that big of a Hardy guy, but I mean, now that you have Harden and Spence, if they're your 9th and 10th man on the bench with all the injuries we have, I mean, compared to the years past, it's just so much better. So
if you go back to the Denver game, so it's Friday the 22nd, Spencer has averaged, let's see here, it's 6 games. He has averaged 11, 15 plus 19 is 34. 39 assists over 6 games. What is that? I'm going to do the math here. 39 divided by 6. 6.5 assists a game for a bench guard who's not playing. I mean, he's playing 30 plus minutes in these games. One of the things I've really just have to be honest about is when I didn't really like Spencer's play the first part of 2022. No. the year that we traded him for Kyrie.
Yeah, that was 2022, I thought, right? Wasn't it?
I think it was that February of maybe 2023. I can't remember, man. All these years blur together. The large point.
I agree with you. He didn't pass. I was gonna.
He didn't pass.
Yeah.
So it's like he's using his playmaking abilities really well. Like one of the key buckets in that fourth quarter was him throwing like a light lob over DeAndre Ayton to Dwight Powell for a lane.
That was the best pass of the night when he was faking out to go to the three. That was the best. I don't know if anybody on the team could have made that pass, maybe other than Luka and Kai.
That's right.
That was insane. Yeah,
that's right. And that's a huge help because him scoring is nice, but it's inconsistent. And the fact that he seems to be willing to like run an actual offense as opposed to being just a guy who wants to get off the bench and get shots, I think makes him a hell of a lot more valuable to the Mavericks than I would have considered. And just he keeps the flow going. I mean, he's tonight I already complained about this. He wasn't very good on defense, but I thought he's been pretty good in a lot of these other games. I mean, if
Gaff, sorry to interrupt you, if Gafford or Matt, if I'm not trying to blame Kid, but if at least he's if he's on a guard, at least he's body like that Devi matchup tonight. Like how many times he get blown? I saw your tweet. Yeah. How many times he get blown in a row? Like 5. At least he has somebody behind him. I don't know. Yeah. I just like them. Then I have one other thing. I know I'm kind of been a Maxey defender over the years, and I'm trying to be nice, but one, I think this team is awesome that we don't really necessarily have to make a trade, but I don't know. I'm not too keen on Dorian Finney-Smith either. I love the man, but I just don't know. But I just think we need, if you really want to be a championship team, I don't know, even those 15 minutes of Maxey, I just don't see it anymore. I mean,
right.
I don't know. I would rather play Dwight for 15 minutes. I know how crazy that sounds, but I just think Dwight has the energy for 15 minutes a game more than Maxey does now. He just doesn't shoot the ball anymore. It was obvious tonight, especially, but.
I'm okay with Maxey at the 4. I'm not okay with Maxey at the 5. That's all.
I'm with you.
Hey, man, this is good stuff. Thanks for joining the show.
Good to see you. First time this year. I'll check back in. Thanks, guys.
No, it's tough. I just do this. I need to get better at doing these because the Mavericks have played a ton of games in November, and I don't like doing them on the first night of a back-to-back because the show has no shelf life. This time,
I'm impressed you're doing it tonight on a holiday weekend, man.
This is good. No, and then they play on Tuesday. I'll definitely do on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or they play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then the cup games start. That's why if you look at the schedule, there's a big gap between the 7th and the 21st, I think is what it is. That stuff will suss itself out. But
yeah, I'm going to the game on Thursday. I'm from DC. So
awesome. Have fun, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Kurt. Right. I'll check in.
Later. Okay, coming up next is Paul, and then we have Ray. Paul, welcome.
Good evening. How y'all doing?
I'm great. Thanks for joining the show. What's going on?
First time, long time. The last guy kind of said what I want to say. I'd like to see Dorian in, Maxey out.
Okay.
I've always made a trade. What you said, 7 straight years, and I think certain players played better in Dallas, like Spence, and I think Dorian's that guy, and I think he could hold down that backup 4, and that's all I got.
All right. Well, I think that one will hang out there. We'll see if they actually make that. They'll do something, but it's more a matter of when, and it's a matter of whether they want to give up the resource. I don't follow a lot of the NBA at large anymore just because I don't got the time. I can't what contender is giving up a first round pick for Dorian? Maybe I'm just being an asshole. Who knows?
No one is.
So maybe we can, if we could get him because we apparently own Philadelphia's second rounder, or we will, it's the best of the two of them and someone else's. I think that would be something I would be willing to forego. But first rounder, I don't know. I just attach a lot of love to first round picks.
I'd go all in on this year, and then you got Clay, hopefully being the Ray Allen big shot Bob off the bench, and we'll be all right. Might get it this year.
Hope so. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too. Ray, long time. Good to see you again. What's going on?
Yeah, long time. Good. How you doing, man?
I'm okay. This has been the get right portion of the season has been, it's like we're all kind of getting in shape. The Mavericks, I think they've won now 8 of 9, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I think 8 of 9 sounds about right, except the Miami game, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
But the reason why I especially wanted to call in today, because you made some really, really good points that I was literally just talking about yesterday. And I kind of was like, oh shit, I just was talking about this yesterday. You were mentioning something about Luka's kind of demeanor and sort of how he is, his attitude and kind of his mood.
Sure. Yeah.
It was pretty palatable. And I had this kind of fun conversation with my wife going, Nico should get a plane before the trade deadline, go to Europe, and bring back Boban Marjanovic.
Just go. Make sure that he's a part of Luka's pick-me-up group. Just keep him around.
I mean, like you see, there used to be all these kind of like fun YouTube videos of like the guy became a kid every time he was around that guy. I don't know. It was just a fun thought. Like, who knows? Just do it.
Well, it's I always feel for Luka because he's a young man. He's 25 years old. He's got a 1-year-old at home. And I know everybody makes these kind of sassy comments when I bring up this sort of stuff. Like, oh, he's a millionaire. He's probably got to live in help. If you have to deal with, like, I love my children. I have a 1-year-old. And there are days where I'm like, what the shit is, and it can kind of just take over your day where it's like, oh, I just had a tough day at home, or I got to go play basketball.
Yeah.
My knee hurts and my back hurts and I've got the refs yelling at me. Like I feel for these guys more now that I sort of understand, now that I'm older and have seen through some stuff. I just will say that when you watch a game like tonight, and really I think the Pelicans game apply to this too. Those two games feel like the most fun Luka has had playing basketball this season. They're just in those games, it just everything felt like a struggle, and that sucks.
Yeah, and I would probably take the injury portion of it quite seriously with it too. Like maybe he just needed to that weaken a bit, because I don't think the sprained wrist tells the whole story. It was a lot of things.
Why not? So if you have a reason to and that's the other deal is he doesn't not want to play. Sometimes they maybe had to get together and be like, look, your wrist kind of hurts, your knee kind of hurts. Can we just get you right for 4 or 5 games? And he, because the NBA forces you to fill out these injury reports. From my understanding, before yesterday's game, he was out shooting around and he looked just fine. Yeah, so exactly. Oh well.
The moment you see Kyrie's on the injury report, I'm like, he's playing. Luke's playing. Exactly the plan.
Yeah, I'm glad Kyrie got some rest because that dude was starting to look like butter spread over too much toast.
He was yawning at a timeout late in the fourth quarter. Did you see that?
It's like, all right. He's like, let's wrap this up. I want to go home. So,
but 100% get you, because I got a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and you have a long day at work, and then you're like, oh, my day is not over. Sometimes you kind
of no, your day's like just starting, and it's difficult. And for the first timers, it's their first one where it's just like everything is a disaster. It's getting cold. The kid, because he posted all these adorable pictures of like her first birthday party, and I'm like, man, I don't remember my son's first year, my older son. Yeah. Like I just like it's all so it's like I can't imagine like being a professional athlete on top of it and having to deal with all this stuff. So
yeah, for sure. It would be quite a lot. And then also media and pressure and all that kind of jazz. And you said that the other thing about narrative, and that was the other thing that I was saying the same thing yesterday. I'm like, watch, if we lose this Portland game, regardless of the circumstances of injuries and back-to-backs on the road, watch ESPN do the whole, are they better without Luka? Blah, 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 blah.
And it's not, and to me, it's not even Luka. It's half the damn fan base that gets so frustrated with him. And I try to see both sides of it, because it's just like when you win 5 out of 6 or whatever it was, it's like, does Luka need to play differently? And I think we could argue in the New Orleans game and in this game, he played differently than he played some of those games earlier in the year.
Yeah, especially in the second quarter, like you said, instead of, kind of slowing the pace down so he could feel the game out, he was pushing the ball up, getting the guys, shots moving. Yep. So it's just, there'll be a little bit of that, but I'm glad to see that narrative thing's not going to happen, hopefully, and that we're doing good. But I mean, it was just a dumb, funny thing that I kind of thought about. I was like, it would be nice to see Bobby back on the team just for the vibes.
Sure. I mean, do you remember way back when I was being very thoroughly frustrated about JJ Barea still being on the team? Yeah. And it turned out, I think Barea, and I turned out to be just so wrong. about what he brought from an intangibles point of view. And there's always, I think when you got, a team that does have the depth that the Mavericks do, it's all the guys that are on the back portion of the bench need to be important to the team chemistry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because do you remember the whole Theo Pinson saga as well on that 2022 team?
I do. And he was important to that team's psychology. It's just, he stopped being. He still thinks he's important to the team's psychology.
To this day on his podcast,
he hasn't been on the team for several years, and it's just like, hey, my buddy, come on, relax. Oh well,
yeah.
Oh well, thanks for joining, Ray. You got anything else?
No. Go Mavs. It's good to see an entire team where we don't have to kind of like look at one player each and every night and say they drive us nuts. So it's good to have that for once this is good for a season, So that's fun. It's fun.
All right, we'll talk soon. Hope you come back.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Brian is going to join now. What's up, Brian?
Nothing much, man. Just finished watching that game.
Yep.
And digesting everything that happened. It was pretty cool seeing Luka be back. That was fun. Yeah, no. We won what now? 4 games in a row?
4 games in a row, and they've now won 8 of 9.
Right. Yeah, we're sitting kind of pretty at this point.
I would say so, but they're playing. So let's just agree. So I want to look ahead a little bit. What do you think about the upcoming sort of slate for these Mavericks? Let me just pull up. So they play the Grizzlies on Tuesday, and that's going to be, to me, that becomes it's obviously important for the NBA Cup, but I mean, the Mavericks shouldn't really care about that. Then they play Washington, Toronto, Clippers, Portland again, and then Minnesota on Christmas. Like, am I crazy for thinking that if they can get past, if they could defeat Memphis, they're playing at home, which I think is a value, and I think they'll have as close to a healthy squad as they can, because I'm pretty sure they held out Lively mainly for preventative reasons, much more than his knee was actively hurting. Kyrie probably just needed the rest. So it's like they're going to be as healthy. Maybe Clay's probably the guy that's not going to play still, wouldn't be shocked. And frankly, I don't think they need him right now. So it's, if they can get past the Grizzlies, I think they could win out through the rest of the year. Good Lord. They might be like, I just don't see a team where I'm going, I'm really worried about them past the Grizzlies. Is that crazy?
I think they drop one to the Clippers. I do think they beat Memphis because Kyrie's going to be back. That Clippers team is tough.
They're tough, yeah.
Really good on defense.
Zubac is going to eat us alive. That just kind of comes with the territory.
He's certainly going to try. And look, as long as they don't overreact and try and like double in the post, and they just like play them straight up and let him do whatever he wants to do in the paint, but we don't give like James Harden any extra advantages to attack, then we should be fine. That's why I think that we maybe drop one to them, because they're just a team of like a couple tough shot makers and like
beating any team twice in a row is hard.
Right. Let alone a team that's good. And I think as much as I've shat on this Clippers team and I thought they were going to be like super weak, they've been good and they have an identity. And that's in large part due to their best player in James Harden and their coach. So a lot of credit to them. They started the season really well, and I think they're going to be tough. So we probably drop one to them. But outside of that, Portland, whoever else, Toronto, that's not a basketball team. Minnesota, sorry, man, they can't score. They can't score, so they can't run with us.
Can you believe Anthony Edwards is still hitting? He is still making close to 5 threes a game, and they're this bad.
I was going to say that's the thing. The shocking thing isn't that the three-point shooting and the volume has kind of continued. It's that it has and it doesn't matter. That's what's shocking. That's what's shocking. So, yeah, that's funny. But that's what happens when you know what I mean? When you have a point guard problem for 2 years and you don't do anything to solve it except draft a rookie that you don't play. So
I like it.
That's its own thing. Hey, have you been seeing all the weird Trey Clay things that are happening on the timeline?
Yes, and I just ignore it because it's not happening.
It's not happening, but I'm not even seeing good reasoning for it.
Because there's been some fun ones. Like my man, he posting here is Rico. He always sends me the Mavs. He said the Mavs are 11-0 when Clay plays less than 28 minutes, which I think there's a discuss. It's just like the Luka based discussion. There's a talk to be had about role and how you're playing that I think is much more interesting than whether a player should go or not. Like Klay Thompson probably shouldn't be the starter. He should be like a seventh man. That's the stage in his career that he's in. Sorry. He's going to be coming back from foot injuries. He's really hot or cold. He just is. But trade him? Like, why? For who? You're selling at low value, first of all.
That's what I wanted to bring up because I saw one. Glenn posted one, and this.
Okay, Glenn's drunk. We know you. We love you, Glenn. Don't be mad. You're drunk.
No, good guy. Good part of Mavs Twitter. He is essential to the cause. He posted Clay and Maxey for John Collins, and then said, "Oh, and throw in the Sixers second rounder." Almost threw my laptop out my window. That's a lot for a dude who's not good at basketball. Like John Collins is a 4 who makes $25 million, by the way, and is making $27 million next year. Who can't defend fours, can't guard up or down the lineup, can't really dribble, isn't going to be guarded like someone that can actually shoot. And despite how athletic he is a worse finisher at the rim than you think. Yeah. Like, as someone who was a resident at John Collins Island for a long time, that is just not a good basketball player. And then using the maxi salary slot on that, plus a dude like cashing in all of your player, free agent, future recruiting cachet that you use to like get Clay and then just like turning around and trading him in the same season for a bad player at that, really just because like he struggled to shoot a bit early, which he does every year. I know people that are like just putting out trades and whatever and just like
I get it.
Fun, but
no, and that's where I've just as my life has grown more like complex, I just spend less time on the Twitter and more time in group chats. And that is to say that like I'm more than willing to have basketball conversations with anybody that wants to have one in good faith. But if you're throwing around trades at the 20 game mark, you're not thinking about the fact that those trades are never going to happen. And secondarily, most trades don't factor team chemistry into anything. They just don't. I mean, I remember being I was obviously very wrong about the Kyrie trade. Okay. I just was. But one of the things I wasn't considering at the time was I wasn't acknowledging how bad the Mavericks actually were. I was still living with the fantasy that Luka scored, 60, 20, and 10, like 35 days prior. And I was like, oh, well, this team, if they have this thing and this, so I don't want to bring in a guy who's a bit of a locker room cancer, which I mean, at the time, Kyrie was. And so it's like, that's a different situation than, this team is what? They're now 5 games above 500. They're 13-8. And like, what are we making trades for? Or are we, this isn't like fantasy football where you're trading guys ahead and hoping to like play for the playoffs. Like, I do think the Mavericks make some sort of move because they have for 7 years in a row. But right now I'm looking at the guys and saying, all right, well, who needs to go? There's not a person. I mean, some of these guys drive me crazy, but I don't think they're like actively detrimental. I mean, maybe Maxey gets played too much.
That's the name that sticks.
But that's not his fault. That's like Kid continuing to put him in and leave him in there for 30 minutes.
That's why he's got to go because Kid's not going to stop doing that. That's why he's got to. It's not even his fault. Like I've had this conversation with people. Maxey doesn't need to go because Maxey's a bad player. Yeah. Maxey is mostly a non-factor on offense, which is another problem. But Maxey's a fine player in like a 15-minute a game backup forward. Occasionally, throw him out there as a stretch 5. I wouldn't do that ever again, just because like the rebounding is so bad in those lineups. But yeah, like a 15-minute a game backup 4, you can make that work. Except whenever he has success in that role, Kid just can't. He can't leave it alone. He can't quit it. It's like crack cocaine, man. He get one hit of that Maxey, and he's like, man, this brother's got to play 25 minutes. It's like, no, he just had success in a 15-minute role. And then what do? You throw him out there for 22 minutes because somebody else got hurt or somebody else needed a night off, and now he's hurt. And now we're back in the 3-month Maxey cycle of waiting for him to come back and look right. Right. I can't do it.
But there'll always be something. There'll be another. This is just sort of the downside of social. Like, are you on Facebook anymore?
No, not anymore.
No, I still am because I like it. I'm old. I've been on it since I was a sophomore in college. But one of the things that happens now with a lot of the different pages that generate fan like engagement is they post they make like Mike Fisher's headlines look boring in comparison, where they'll take like a post game quote and be like, Spencer Dinwiddie said, and it's just like, you click through it and it's just complete and total horseshit. So it's like the elements, it's for as bad as Twitter is, it can be, for as bad as Reddit can be, there's a real appetite out there for drama. And I just don't have the bandwidth for it. It's not that I think it's bad. I mean, it's not for me. I prefer to get mad about really, really dumb specific basketball things, like in-game decision making or things that kid does or says, as I'm hearing it with getting mad about rotations. Like misreading or overinterpreting what somebody says. I will do that too, but it's far less fun than like the games itself. So
yeah.
Oh, you got anything else for us?
Quinn Grimes, keep doing what you're doing.
Man, I didn't write about him in the recap. I feel like an idiot. He was amazing.
Dude, look, man, this is what I was hoping for. Years ago when I was jealous that the Knicks had him and we had Josh Green instead. And then when we got him in the summer, I knew what was coming. I didn't think it would look like this, and definitely not this early. But that dude is so good, and so is Najee, and so is PJ. And Spencer has completely thrown egg all over my face the last like 5 games. So shout out to him.
Sure.
This team is like, the depth is apparent. It's just difficult to see when you have 3+ rotation players out every night. But once we get most of our guys back, and more importantly, once we have our 2 stars together, the depth is going to be apparent. And people are going to start talking about this team as one of the deeper teams in the league. And that's before we go out and make the deal that I do think we need to make for someone who can fill some of PJ's role when he's out. And then this team is going to be like, there's nobody in the league I'm afraid of. Like, I think Boston is still the best and the clear most talented team in the league, but I think that we could still run with them in a 7-game series with that kind of team, like this team, plus, a slight upgrade to the bench.
Well, man, I'm grateful for you joining the show. We'll talk soon, all right?
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Have a good night.
All right. Okay, guys, this has been fun. We'll do it again on Tuesday after the normally timed 7:30 start time with the Grizzlies. I don't know how much of that game I'm actually going to be able to watch live. I am an assistant coach for a basketball team, so we shall see. Everybody be good. Start your week right. We will talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for hanging out. Go Mavs.